Welcome to episode number 13 of the This Week in SCC Sports Podcast. As always, I'm your host, the voice of the Saints, Brandon Karam, SCC class of 2020. I apologize for the very inconsistent upload schedule. Hoping to get back on track with it this week. Just been really busy overall, but let's get back on track with this one. So, winter sports season is coming to a close, and we got a lot to talk about today. So let's get right into it. We're going to start off with the bowling team. Now, the bowling team played their last match of the year on Monday versus Corinth and Granville and won 8-0. So another successful result for the bowling team, who is heading into the league championships on Thursday with a full steam of, or I should say, they're heading in with a lot of momentum is the right word to use, because you have two of the top bowlers in the league and possibly the top bowler in the league in Michaela Barble. And the bowling team is hungry for revenge. They've been beaten by Hoosick Falls twice this year. And that is definitely a team that the bowling team can step up and beat. So I think that in the league championships, they're going to perform absolutely great. But to get back to Michaela Barble and Timmy Barrett, Michaela is solidifying herself as possibly the best bowler in the Western League, and she's only a junior. She averaged a 216 average this year for a junior. That's just insane. To have a 216 average in a league where this year we didn't have that many home matches compared to last year. So you're going to opponent lanes, and not to mention what she did yesterday at the South Glens Falls lanes. She bowled a 249, a 242, and a 180. It's insane that she bowled. That's about a 660, 670 series on opponent lane. She's only bowled on maybe a couple times in her life. Just props to her. She's going to have a phenomenal year next year. And Timmy Barrett, his senior year, I believe he's got around a 206, 207 average. Just super consistent. At home, on the Saratoga Strike Zone lanes, he's arguably one of the best bowlers in the league, because he can always go off for, 240, 250. And he seems like a lock for a 600 series almost every match. Now, he's averaging a 206, and sure, he'll have some series where he is a little bit off, but he has been such a crucial part of this bowling team, and really the revitalization of this bowling team, who went from one of the worst teams in the league just a few years ago to now possibly, or I should say worst team in like the state, basically, a couple years ago, and now one of the best teams in the Western League in Section 2 overall. So just bowling team overall, heading in with a lot of momentum into the league championships on Thursday, and then sectionals, which will be played on February 11th. On to the boys basketball team. Now, since the last podcast, which was on January 10th, the boys played Hoosick Falls at home, and they dropped that game. Hoosick Falls is by far the best team in the state, so it's not a surprise that the boys dropped that game. The first half for us in that game was definitely not good. I don't think they scored in the first quarter, but they picked it up in the second quarter, and we really seemed to figure them out towards the end of the game. Then the boys played Mayfield at home, and let me tell you, that Mayfield team has a shot to win the state championship. The way that they moved the ball, the way that they played against us was absolutely phenomenal. They have a sophomore, I believe his name is Trayvon Gifford. He scored his 1,000th career point, and he's only a sophomore. So I'll be interested to see if we do schedule Mayfield the next couple years, because they're not in our league. They play in the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference, I believe. And Spock Catholic, of course, plays in the Wazran League. Then our boys traveled to Cambridge, which is a team that we'd already beaten twice at home by at least 10 points both times. And they dropped that game to Cambridge 44-40. Just not a good effort by the offense in that game. That's a very winnable game. And I'm sure that Coach John Catone was not happy with his guys after the game, just because that's a winnable game. Scoring only 40 points against Cambridge, it's just not what you want for your second to last league game. The boys' last league game, regular season league game, that is tomorrow, January 30th, versus Hoosick Valley, and we are doing a live stream for it, so be sure to check out the live stream right here on this channel. I believe game is at 7:30 or 7 o'clock. I'll keep you guys updated on that, but please be sure to check that out. It's the last live stream of the year. I'll be providing commentary on the game, so check that out. On the JV boys basketball, I should mention one more thing about the varsity team. After the last regular season league game tomorrow, January 30th, they will be playing in a crossover league game on February 8th, so that would be next Friday. And it looks like it's going to be Mechanicville who they have to play, and I believe that will be played at the Broadway gym. So the boys still got 2 games left. Hoosick Valley's a very winnable game. We'll see how they play. They played okay on the road. They got beat, but I think that at the Broadway gym, we can beat almost anyone in the league besides maybe Hoosick Falls. And I think really Hoosick Falls is the only team we can't beat in the league at home. On to JV boys basketball, who now sit at a perfect undefeated record, I believe at 15-0. Hold on, I'm checking it right now. But they have been playing absolutely outstanding. 16-0, my bad. But the JV team, they've won 16 straight games. They've gone 7-0 on the road, 9-0 at home. And they've only allowed 606 points the whole year in 16 games. Now, that defense that Coach Simpson runs is it's awesome. I got to play in that system when I was in 8th grade on Modified, and Coach Simpson went very in depth about his defensive system on a previous podcast. I believe that was episode 10 or 11, where we talked just about his coaching style and his philosophy when it comes to basketball. But that's 37.8 points allowed per game, which is just insane. The JV team also is in action tomorrow, and then they also play in a crossover game. So the JV plays in the same crossover as the varsity. And Mechanicville was one of the first JV games of the year, and it was very close. Anthony Barilli, who's been just an absolute stud so far this year, possibly one of the best players in the school, he hit a very clutch 3 with a couple minutes left, and they pulled away and won by, I think, 5 or 6. But it's going to be a real test for them. Hoosick Valley tomorrow should not be a problem, but the Mechanicville game will be one of the best games of the year. And speaking about the JV team, when the varsity took on Mayfield, so did the JV at home. Now, talking to Coach Simpson, he said that the Mayfield game was going to be the only game this year where he thought his guys were not going to be favored. And in the first half, the boys, they played okay. It's not what you're used to seeing with this JV boys team. But they pulled away in the end. It seems like nothing phases this team, whether the other team is pressing them, whether the other team goes on like a 7-0 run. Coach Simpson keeps his guys cool and collected, and they were able to pull away with a nice 10-point win. On to girls basketball. The girls varsity, they played Whitehall for their senior night, or it was a day game, their senior day game, and they lost by, I believe, 10. It's the same result they had against Whitehall the first time they played them. But the thing you got to realize with varsity is there's just so many inexperienced girls, and when you're playing in the Wasserman League, which is one of the toughest girls basketball leagues in the state of New York, Class C. What you got to realize is that we have one senior on our team, okay? Our starting lineup consists of a freshman, a junior, two freshmen, a junior, and 2 sophomores, okay? So, the inexperience with this team is the reason why they're losing. But as the girls start to get older, this team will be a force to be reckoned with. I'm telling you. And I know I keep repeating myself, but I'm very confident that this girls team has the talent to be able to be in the top of the Wasserman League in 1, if not 2 years. The JV girls, on the other hand, picked up a massive win versus Cambridge last week. Cambridge is always one of the best teams. Their varsity team is very, very good. So for the JV girls and Coach Dan Massey to be able to go pick up a win in the Broadway gym versus Cambridge is huge for that program. Coach Massey has done such a great job with those girls. He's got over a 500 record, which is honestly better than what I thought they would have. But he just seems to impress me, and the team seems to impress me every day. So there's nothing more I could say. I'm very proud of that team. So, basketball sectionals, or the end of the Wasserman League season for basketball coming up. Bowling League championships and sectionals coming up. And then girls basketball sectionals will be coming up soon. That'll be on most likely the next podcast. As always, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brendan Karam, and I'll see you soon on YouTube, so stay tuned.
1, 2, 3.